Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll wait just a minute to get started.
Want some water? He's getting us water.
I'm waiting for him to get back in his water. Yeah.
No, he's getting us water.
Oh,
You want
getting
some?
water.
You want
No,
some?
thanks. I'm good. Okay, let's call this meeting to order. First piece is to approve the minutes of June 8th, 2022. Actually, we should do a roll call first. Rick Barnett,
Russell?
Jan Diamondine.
Mr. G. Nassar?
Ron Willach?
and it looks like Nancy Brewer is coming in as well. So, okay, first action is approval of minutes from the last meeting. I read them. I don't see any issues. Is any concerns, or do I get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No opposed. Okay. Moving to discussion. Purpose changes to Trees and Trails Committee, and we have a memo from Nancy Brewer that talks about that. And then there's a draft there. Nancy, anything you want to add to that?
No, and I hope you can hear me. I'm actually at a conference in Redmond right now, so sorry for the remote access. We had talked at the last Trees and Trails Committee meeting about adding parks as responsibilities. So I have made some of the code language as it currently exists to try and clarify and to add that parks oversight responsibility for this group. And as I had noted, to change and taking the two staff members off of the committee, adding two people with an interest in parks to the committee. The staff members, city engineer Whitlatch and public works director Williams would continue to provide staff support and information to the committee, but they would not be voting members of the committee. So I'm looking for any edits the group might have that they would like us to put final language before the city council for the council to adopt so that we can get this group working on Cheadle.
Can we, you were cutting in and out just a little bit, but I think
Oh.
we got the gist of it.
Okay.
The first time I saw it was sitting here 10 minutes ago. Is there a deadline that you would like to see to get any concerns or changes back to Ron or to you, or how would you like that process to go if there's any thoughts? Oh, we froze you. Hopefully.
I
we'll
keep
get
ending
unfroze
up
here.
with the frozen screen. Yeah, I'm sorry. I
There you
think
are.
the Wi-Fi is a little funky, so I'm going to try and get out maybe where I can get a better signal. So
Did you catch the question?
no, I did not.
The first time that we saw the changes, I just looked at them 10 minutes ago. Is there a time frame you're trying to get this stuff back so that you can get it to council? If there's any thoughts.
There's not a hard time frame. I think I was hoping that the committee could discuss this, and it might be something that would be shared in the work session next week from the Trees and Trails update. If that doesn't work out, it would to council meeting. It's not the end of the universe. So if you want to take more time to think about it and talk about it, that's fine.
What do you guys think? I didn't see any changes that were really
How do we go
substantial.
about getting two park enthusiasts? Do you put that on the website and people apply?
Well,
or-
just the same way you would with a trails and same process. So we'd have an opening, we would put it out. There's a press release that goes out for two members, park enthusiast members for the Parks, Trees, Trails Committee. And so you would take applications. I don't know, it would be up to the city council to decide who is appointed to it. So we would look at the applications and then, I don't think we would make that recommendation, would we, Nancy, as the committee? I believe that would go to the council, or how would that go?
No, it goes to the mayor and the mayor makes the appointment and then the council confirms that on the consent agenda. So I think we would put out and ask for applications. The mayor would look at who all has applied and make call and talk with people and then appoint them. But that's the same way that all advisory boards have appointments made, is to ask for people who are interested and bring that information in.
I'm comfortable with with the changes she's made, just in the little look I've had, because she basically took the old document and added in to make it more, to widen it out a little bit. Do we want to, I mean, we can talk about it and just get that taken care of so that it would seem to make a lot of sense for this to go to the council when we do the trees and trails, when we update them next week, if that worked.
Yeah, that would be during a work session, so there wouldn't be any action taken at that meeting, since that's a week from this Wednesday. But during the work session, you can talk, I've got it in my staff report that we would be talking about it to the council. And then the final, this would probably be by ordinance change, I'm guessing. Nancy?
It would be
is
an
that
ordinance
correct?
change and we could,
Yeah.
right, it would be ordinance change and we could get it on the August 10th council agenda still.
Yeah. That's what I was
If
thinking.
something, if there's a recommendation today for
Thoughts?
Well, I think we support the general idea. We did from from our last meeting when Nancy brought it up. I tell you, I'm colorblind and I can't see red. So with the small font, it's really difficult for me to read it. But I think it's fine. I had one question that for some reason I was able to read this one line. And I see that it was added that the people that are on the committee need to be residents of the city of Lebanon. And so that means, I'm assuming, within the urban growth boundary or within the city limits. And then I know we had some discussion before, but are people that own businesses in town, are they able to participate in the committees?
I'm looking to staff to know the answer to that one.
That's, so we
for
wrote
that
it.
is, oh,
Go ahead, Nancy. Try turning your video off.
Yeah.
okay, let's see if that works.
I bet it'll-
So nation in to live within the city limits of Lebanon. And frankly, a lot of that's because parks funding and trails funding comes either grants or general fund. So it's people paying property taxes. And I feel like making prioritization on how to use tax money ought to come from people who are paying those taxes and not from people who are not paying taxes.
That makes sense. Does that answer your question though, Rod? You said if they have, well, it'd be property owners, right?
Right.
Is that what you're saying, Nancy? They'd have to be property owners, not.
I
Yeah, I understand.
think what
that.
I have in there is they have to be residents.
Yeah,
Which
that's
number
what's,
is that?
it's under membership, appointment and terms.
Residence is different than property owners.
They would have to be residents.
So
Yeah.
you couldn't rent an apartment.
Right.
on the committee.
No, you can. You can.
You can.
Resident is not necessarily a property
They're
owner.
owners.
But
That's
if
what he
I
suggested.
live outside the city, but I own property in the city, that wouldn't count.
Would not count.
Right. You'd have to make your primary residence in the city of Lebanon.
Well, that's the way I understand it as written.
That's the way I've understood it in
It-
another city.
It is a question I've had for some time because I feel that there are individuals that partake in the city, they have interest in the city, they spend money in the city, and if they own property, they pay taxes to the city, but they might not live in the city, so they can't be on a committee. But that might be for a future conversation.
I would think that's fair.
Fair.
That's a city council thing to discuss at some point because it's going to impact much more than just this committee.
Yeah, would agree.
Nancy, my only question is in terms of having Mr. Whitlatch and Mr. Williams here for these meetings, even though they don't vote, is that still, would that still be the case? I heard staff support, but I want to make sure I see Ron's face all the time.
That would, yeah, that would still be the case. They would still be staff and be there providing professional advice and information. They're gonna, they're the people who are working on the projects, doing the maintenance work. So they would still have a critical role on the committee. But it really is, there's a little bit of an ethical challenge with being a voting member, making recommendations that could impact the work that they do as part of their job at the city. And I think taking them off of the committee membership as a voting member is an important thing that needs to be done.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think the committee would look any different other than the fact that Jason and I just won't vote on anything, which is the way it should have been set from the beginning because it's, the committee needs to decide. They're the ones that go to council. And so,
Right. That makes total sense. So I'm seeing a little bit of uncomfort. You'd like to read through it when you had some time before we said, hey, here it is. Here it is. Is that what I'm seeing from you, Rod?
And I that could be today if I get staff to send it to me to my, through my email. I mean, I could review it after this meeting even. I don't. But you
Okay.
know what, I'm comfortable with the rest of the committee that if they've read it and feel good with it, then I'm sure it's fine. And I'd go along with whatever they.
I think as a draft,
Yeah.
it's fine. And that way, if between now and whenever they take it to the next step, we would make any concerns or stuff known.
I think if you read it, if we talk about it next week at our Trees and Trails work session, and if you read it between now and then, if you had recommended changes, we could throw those out. We can, if there's a change that the committee looks at and says, okay, yeah, we like that. And again, it doesn't have to be at the August meeting. If there's a change that needs to come back to the committee to be voted on to make that formal recommendation to the city council, then we can. I don't know that we do want to get going because we do want to use this committee as the kind of the sounding board for the parks grant that we've got out at Cheetah Lake and the things that we're moving through there. So there is a little bit of a time crunch on it because that's a big project in a short time to do it.
Sounds good.
Okay, I don't know that we need to do a vote or anything on that. I think we just need to have consensus that, Nancy, we're comfortable with that going to the council work session, and we will look at it between now and then and give you any, or bring up any concerns or any issues that we see with it. I don't think there's going to be any, but if we do. Is that fair?
Can be discussed with council at the work session too, if there's any changes, because we'll bring a draft of this and give to them to review, and we can kind of go through what the changes are in our Trees and Trails presentation.
Perfect. Sound good?
The Lebanon resident, I think there's someone on our committee that's not a Lebanon resident now.
That is correct. That would change eligibility for that. But it makes sense that you would have to be a Lebanon resident. I think she was when she first came onto the committee.
Who's that?
Jennifer,
Did she move?
she moved to Sweet Home or Foster.
Oh, no, she's out. She's out. Sweet Home. No, yeah, she's out. If you had said Albany, maybe.
So
Can she be grandfathered in because she's an integral part of this committee?
That's not a decision for me, but you could probably let her finish out her term, I would think, but that's not my call. That's this committee's call.
Yeah.
Should this go into effect?
If that's the committee's call and the committee can make that decision on one individual, then I'd like to, when it's time, propose that we grandfather her in for as long as she wants. Or until the sweet
Well-
home takes over and then we got to kick her out.
We'll go from there. Yeah.
All right.
If it becomes. Okay. Any more discussion on
I do kid. I do love Sweet Home as well.
You what?
I said, I kid. I do love Sweet Home as well.
No, that's fine.
You're a businessman, you better.
Any other discussion on the proposed changes to Trees and Trails Committee? Okay, let's talk about something that might be very interesting. Funding opportunity for multi-use path. Deadline August 1st. This just came out this week. I think it got my email and I think Rod pulled it up as well. There is some more funding available for multi-use paths. The plus of this for Lebanon is that there are a number of things in the hopper already that are pretty close to ready to go, which I think other communities are going to have a hard time doing that. But we don't want the money to drive necessarily doing, it does drive where you go, but you want to make sure that's in the plan of where you're at. So let's talk about that because I am much less aware of where we are on possible places that if the state said, if we wanted to go for some additional funding, where we might use that. So that would be either the Build Lebanon Trails folks or Ron or both would know something on that. So I'm going to be quiet a little while and let you guys discuss because I'm not aware.
So probably the, the most shovel ready is going to be the Burkhart Creek path there at Applegate. I mean, the easements there is pretty simple. Along with that, you could potentially, should city council direct us to accept the recommendation to look at putting a multi-use path on Airport there from Stoltz Hill. You could tie that all together with this grant, I assume. I know we started looking at it in the office. Kelly's work group is looking at it right now, just seeing what's involved and getting a letter out and whatnot. So that to me is probably, excuse me, one of the closest that's ready. I mean, what do you see?
That's the one that I think is at the top now as far as being ready.
Yeah.
And there was, one question about that is that, I think I read that was a 10-foot easement?
Yeah, it's a 10-foot trail easement, but the whole easement itself is 15 feet because our sewer utilities over it. So we would build a 12-foot wide path through there.
I was just thinking more about maintenance, being able to get to do the maintenance.
Yeah,
A wider right of way is always nicer, so.
Yeah, you'll still be able to get through that.
Great.
There won't be any fences. Those homes down there won't be able to build fences because they can't fence across Burkhart Creek.
Even better.
So that seems like a good one. I haven't really thought about any others that would be eligible for this. The only thing that concerned me a little bit was the time frame. But that may fit in. It may not be that big a deal if we stop and think about it. Even if the signal project were to go sooner, and we were waiting on, looks like approves projects in July. Yeah, I would assume that it would go sooner. I would just leave that portion out. We can always change order it back if we had to, but I'd leave that portion out of the project. And the biggest challenge we're going to have is getting utilities moved and getting the additional right of way there. That's going to be the biggest challenge.
Right.
The path itself is fairly easy. It's going to be curbside on one side and along the greenway on the other. So that part of it's easy.
So the other project that might be there is one that we don't know if we're going to be able to get any ownership or a right of way at the current time. But I'm hoping that some things develop in the next couple of weeks, maybe a month, that we have other projects that can become possible because of property acquisitions.
Mhm. That's a possibility. The way I read this with the, I think we have a really good chance with it being so close to the school,
Right, for this grant
this
opportunity.
grant.
Right, I'm just thinking there's other grant opportunities out there.
Yes.
It's sort of
Yes.
another subject, but,
Agreed.
yep,
but-
I think it fits it really well. From
No,
what
I do too.
understand.
I do too. Why don't we, let me dig into what's needed. Looks like we've got August 1 to September 15th for pre-applications. I need to see what that looks like.
I'm hoping it's just a letter of intent.
Well, that's kind of what I'm hoping too. We'll probably have to have a cost to it and some of that stuff, but that, we can come up with that. And then we'll look at this committee doing the application. Looks like that's November, starting in November. So there's a pretty good time frame on it. So I agree.
So
That's what
we're,
the committee
so
wants to do.
as a committee, do we want to recommend that we pursue this in relation to the Burkhart, what's the name of the project?
What do you want to call it?
Seventh-
Burkhart Creek, yeah.
7th Street to Applegate
Yeah,
and
yeah, that's good.
Burkhart
Okay.
Trail.
So the next steps then would be city does a little bit of
Mhm.
looking to see if it's a simple pre-application or if it's a detailed, probably simple. Then you probably have to get, do you have to get council approval for any of these?
Not for the application itself. If we were awarded it, then we would. I'd have to see what's on the application. Some cases, they want a resolution to go with it.
Mhm.
That's the application piece. So the letter of intent portion, probably not. I don't believe there would be. My guess is the application would require a resolution commitment by the city council. So, but that's not until November. I think we can probably swing the pre-application unless it's like 500 pages long, and then I'll give it to Rod and he can fill it out.
Okay. So do you think, from a council perspective, do you think there would be any concern on going for this kind of grant? I can't imagine there would.
I can't either.
Okay.
And I'm a proponent of lots of grant writers, lots of grant writing, and not letting that money go anywhere else but here, and not letting that money go to waste. So I'm a proponent of lots and lots and lots of grants.
Okay. So let's do a recommendation that from the committee that the city pursues with committee assistance and or Bill Lebanon Trails assistance, at least the pre-application and moving towards an application process. Does that sound okay? I kind of made it up as I went. Okay.
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Crickets. Okay.
Question. Ron?
Yes,
do you write any of these grants?
Do I?
Yes.
You don't want me writing them.
But you participate in.
Oh, yeah,
in-
absolutely. I
in the
mean,
data
we'll do
and all
the
that.
engineering piece but we've got, Kelly's staff, Rod's helped us out a lot on grants
Mhm.
with trails and stuff. My linear brain doesn't
Mhm.
have all the words that,
So who else participates in the?
Kelly's
city
work
grant
group right
writing?
now is helping me out on a couple of different
Okay.
opportunities. They're looking at some transportation grants, and then also some, we talked about this briefly this morning, and they're going to look into this and kind of
Is there
give me
any,
the details.
is there anyone other than Kelly?
In our realm, I mean, we have written grants before. It just, with the workload that we have right now and to do it right and make sure it's right.
So Kelly's primary.
Well, yeah, and she's just as busy. So if we got into something where we had really big grant essays or something, I think we'd hire it. You'd hire it out. If it's
Okay.
something as simple as filling out a few, paragraphs, then we could do that internally.
Okay.
Makes more sense that way.
Yeah.
Have you guys done the community paths program stuff before? This, in the same program, have you guys done grants with the same program before?
I haven't.
Okay.
I don't think, I want to say it might be new.
Okay.
I've never heard of it. Have you?
Well, it's part of the Safe Routes to Schools program. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I have never seen that in Safe Routes to School.
This
either.
particular one, yeah, I don't know. I don't do that, so I don't know.
It might be though.
I think they've been expanding the ODOT program over the last 2 or 3 years, 4 years.
Yeah.
And putting more money in there for trails. It's a fairly new program, but I have heard of it.
I would think that Lebanon, because of the level of preparedness, because of the closeness to schools, because of experience writing grants, I would think you got a darn good chance
Mhm.
at it, I would think. Okay, any other questions or discussion on that one? Gill's Landing Trail proposal update. Now, we followed that up last time with Build Lebanon Trails brought some information saying they were willing to fund it. City had some concerns about how, not about doing the trail, but how to do it and if it would work there. And I think that we were hoping for you to take a field trip with Dr. Nelson or some of the Build Lebanon Trails. Did that happen?
We have not done that yet.
Okay.
No, we have not. That's going to be one of the topics of discussion with the city council. From the recommendation, I think it's in that sheet that you did, Rick, too, as long as,
I think it was on there.
yeah. So that'd be one of the things we talk about and move that forward. Timing, I'll have to look at that. I want to sit and think about it, even if we did go through and kind of have a time frame for the city council and when we think we could attack that. I'm not sure it can happen within the next 6 months to get after that,
I
but
would think you'd probably want to be a building season away at this point.
yeah, especially if we're going to do this other grant and get the other projects, so. But let me look at our schedule right now, currently as it sits, and
'Cause we
we'll give an update.
discussed that when we were doing the Old Mill Trail, but we didn't want to open a can of worms.
Right.
And I still think the possibility of some help with the Oregon State Marine Board on that project. So
Okay.
just something to be thinking about. If it looks like it's a possibility it can happen, they may have an easier time getting through some of the negotiations with other agencies. So it might be even them as doing a design of the project. I don't know that that's something staff wants to have happen. Anyway, it's just a possibility.
I would have no issue with the Marine Board doing the design if they were willing to do it.
I'd like to ask them, when we get to the point, I'd be more than happy to ask them.
Okay.
I think we have to kind of go through some of the preliminary stuff to see how the city council feels about the project.
Yeah,
before we-
absolutely, and go through the process and see what they come up with. I think that would help us out greatly, just based on workload right now, and looking at where we're going in the next year and a half. It's gonna be tough to break somebody free, and we can't seem to hire anybody, so.
Well, and BLT proposed to help you to use the model we use for the Old Mill Trail, whereas we take kind of the lead in the project, and some hybrid of that in that this is a little bit different because it's on public land. And I think there were some concerns from staff that puts it in a different realm than on private property. But just know that we're willing to help in whatever aspect we can to make any trail project go, including this
Sure.
one.
No, let's see what the council has to say, and then we'll kind of gauge a time frame on when we think we could get to that, and maybe it's worth a question to the Marine Board to see if they'd be willing to do the design. That's the case, it takes a lot of the pressure off of us.
Do you want me to ask?
Yeah, let's see what the council says next week
Okay.
and go that route.
Okay, so we're just going to keep that one moving. Hello, Jennifer.
Hi, sorry I'm
Um,
late.
It's okay. So we're in concept, the Gill's Landing Trail proposal looks like it could work. There's some concerns. We're just going to keep grinding away and working on that until we get to a point where you just say, yeah, it's a go, or no, this isn't going to work. That's what I understand. Is that what you guys understand?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. City council presentation strategy. So tell us a little bit about what all is the city council doing in that? Is that just a regular working, one of their regular, trying to think what the name of it is,
Work session?
work session.
Yes.
They've got a number of things on the work session.
There's 2 that day. So I think we're first, trees and trails, and then I actually have a drainage master plan work session right after that. But
That sounds exciting.
yeah, it's going to be exciting. So here's my approach to it. I'd probably start it off with, here's the Trees and Trails Committee, introduce you to the council, kind of talk about what we've been talking about. I think we would talk about some of the recommendations, the way we're moving, that these trail recommendations would come to the city council, go through the recommendations that we have. In my staff report, I said that we're not looking for any action from the council other than just a consensus to move these things forward, because there is really no definitive project at this point. And then ask them to have, if they have questions or what they'd like to see us working on. I think there'll probably be some pretty good discussion on the parks piece, bringing parks people in, I would hope. And I don't look for it to last more than 10, 15 minutes.
Okay,
If that. I don't
that's what
think
I'm,
it's going
that's
to
what
be.
I'm looking for.
I think
So we
it's-
really just don't, other than just being there to answer questions.
Yeah.
We don't need to really do.
And I'll let you give the actual report as the
Okay.
committee chair. And then I'll be there to, you and I can both go up at the same time. And I'm trying to think if there's any other way that we would do that.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, we're just
I think-
saying,
yeah, I
it's
thi- I
just an
think we're-
update on where we're at
Uh-huh.
and where the vision that Nancy's doing is where she wants us to go and how that will help the city and the council by expanding and it'll help the committee too. It'll expand the role, help bring people that have expertise in those areas.
I think it'd be good to let them know that we're going to use this committee to bounce the ideas of the Cheetah Lake, first phase at Cheetah Lake, and what that's going to look like.
Okay.
So some of those things. But
So-
what you've got here is pretty, and I'll write some notes out too, that we're going to go over.
And the part I would do is just probably just talk about these bullet pointed things. Couple minutes. It's not going to take much.
No.
So,
And to see what questions we get. And yeah, I think it'll be pretty straightforward.
okay. Are you guys going to be able to make it? Are you going to be able to make it to that?
Should be there.
Okay. Jennifer, are you able to make it to that city council workshop
Session?
session?
What date is it?
Next Wednesday at noon.
Oh, gosh. I'm on vacation. Yeah, next
Well,
week.
that's okay. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
it's not critical at
Okay.
all. So
Out of
we just won't be
town.
watching for you.
Okay, next Wednesday, noon, yeah.
Okay.
So,
And that's here.
Yes.
Okay.
That is here at noon. It's pretty informal. It's just God willing. You're just giving an update. Yeah, it's.
I've been through work sessions.
Yeah, I know you.
With a different council,
Yeah.
but work sessions before. Okay. Any other
Work
questions?
sessions, they don't give a decision at that time.
No, what I would typically do and what I did in my staff report is say, hey, we're looking for a council consensus. Like for instance, we believe the committee would benefit from another member or two with expertise in parks, and same thing with the airport road piece, and the same thing with the Gill's Landing piece. I said, we're not necessarily looking for any action other than a council consensus, hey, that we want staff to move this way. And we'll bring, let's say we get started on the grant and we go, we can't get right away. Is council willing to take that right away? Maybe, maybe not. So that's where the action would be taken, or to move it forward that way. The action would be taken on the committee through the new ordinance. So we're just looking for a, hey, yes, go forth and do good, head that direction.
So they tell us that day.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, oh, yeah. We'll get a consensus of what they want to do there. Because there really is no formal action here. There's no money being spent other than staff time. And we're just looking to move some of these things forward.
And it's going to be, I would think they're going to be receptive to it because it's moving
yeah.
things forward. Yeah, it's not a challenging one.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, we're all in trouble.
Okay. Anything else on city council presentation strategy?
Well, we probably better add two new positions on this committee. It says one or two here since what we read.
Yeah, I think
Nancy
they're
gave
looking
us-
for two, I think,
Yeah.
Here it
two
says one or
with expertise in trails, ideally 2 trees, 2 parks. Is that what you're looking
Yeah.
for? And I could go parks or trees because those are the 2 things I do. So, I don't do trails very well.
We use the trails.
I use the trails. Okay, how about BLT update? Time for me to be quiet again and Rod to give us an update on where you're at and where we can be helpful.
Will do, thank you. So just an update for activities that have primarily happened since our last Trees and Trails meeting. And so I know we thanked the city staff last time for the new sign at Riverview Park, but I was actually was able to experience how much it helped. We had the Armenian students that it was the international program, ALEX program that came, and they were part of a month stay in the United States, and they came actually to Lebanon and did some work on the trails. And they came as with their sponsors in their cars, and they were having a difficult time finding the parking lot until they saw the sign. So thank you again, city, for putting that sign up there. It really makes a difference in finding Riverview Park. So had quite a few maintenance activities. We start our tree watering of all the trees, and the new trees usually are the only ones that get watered, or trees that have been established for over 3 years. We don't water, but
How many years? 3? How many years?
3.
3. Okay.
yeah, is that right? Does that sound?
That's what I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so we have 51 new trees at Old Mill Trail. And so every Thursday, there's a group that gets together called the Water Brigade, and they're out there watering by 5-gallon buckets. They put 2 5-gallon buckets of water in each one of the down watering tubes. And so it's just a great opportunity to volunteer, and they have a lot of fun. So we have a new group called the Wipeouts that does graffiti removal. Unfortunately, today at our trail development, BLT trail development team meeting, we found out about some more graffiti out at Cheetah Lake. So we'll be taking care of that. We had 2 of the light poles on the Old Mill Trail that had been hit. So we got those cleaned up. So it's going to be an ongoing thing. Maybe once a year I'll update the committee on the totals, but running totals don't mean a whole lot after you've heard them once or twice. It's more
But
about what you're
I think
accomplishing.
I think it would be helpful a year's total on that, because it paints a picture. And I know that you try to paint a picture of where we having trouble, what kind of trouble are we having. So I think that would be wonderful.
13 benches since March. Well, now 14 benches because I just saw one this morning since March, and 2 poles and a bollard
Yeah.
been tagged.
So I think the good thing is we're right on it. I mean, I think one of the ways of cutting down on graffiti is to make sure they can't see it. So you got to get rid of it so they don't get that reward of seeing their work.
And catch that one famous artist.
Yeah.
Catch
Yes.
him.
He
Tag
he
my
has a
building
strut
twice.
lately.
Really?
So we've had a couple of community service projects. The Boys and Girls, their summer staff contacted us, and as they have in past years, they wanted a project. So they already did one work day and they may do one or two more. And they're currently working on the Eagle Scout Trail, cutting back the brush and the vines, which is really hard to keep up with this time of the year. While I'm on that, something came up to my mind about the meeting today. The blackberries are getting pretty bad out on the fingers out at Cheetah Lake. So I think what happened, there's a cycle of mowing that the city does, and I think they missed one of the fingers, and now the vines are actually, you have to do a zigzag course to get out to the bench at the end of the first finger on the Cheetah Lake Loop Trail. And then we talk about build-up and trails at the board meetings, going to talk about possibly asking the city if they would be okay with us hiring a licensed contractor to do some mowing on places that they have a hard time keeping up with. And I've talked to the majority of the board, and they're kind of favorable of that. I know we've suggested other ways to help with mowing in the past, but this is kind of a new way that we would actually fund it. So at least look into how much it would cost to send out someone that the city would approve, a contractor, and of course they'd have to be licensed and to be able to do that. So I'll give you an update on that as we talk more about that in our board meeting. So a little bit about the trail projects update. The bike repair station that the San Am Spokes has sponsored with us. We're waiting for Breezy Custom Concrete to pour the concrete slab for that, and that's going to go in right next to the kiosk at the Gill's Landing on the Old Mill Trail. The Mountain River Drive pavers, the contractor actually finished the sealing of those, so we're pretty well done with that project. I like the work so much, I actually hired him to come to my house and seal my pavers. And they did a really good job. So,
Interpretive signs.
pardon?
Number B, the interpretive signs at Cheetah. They're still haven't gone in. We've had some trouble with the interpretive signs at Cheetah. They're all done and
Oh, yeah.
approved, but the folks that are doing it got them the wrong size, and then they came to put them in and they put the wrong size again. So we think the third time's going to be the charm.
Wow. They look really good though. And
So the frames are out there and they're
ADA
accessible. So
they're
they're a little closer to the trail maybe, but that's the way they have to be for the wheelchairs.
Gotcha.
And they're not over 30 inches. So, and we have regular wheelchair users out there. I mean, daily. So that's really encouraging. Joe is the person that I've met because he's out there so much. I see him quite often. Okay, so thank you for, I missed that. Thanks for catching that. So we talked about, I think already about the conceptual design and cost estimate for the Burkhart Creek Trail. I think we're working towards coming up with a plan on that. So that's great. Thank you,
And
staff.
we have a conceptual design.
Pardon?
We have that and
Yeah.
a cost estimate.
It'd be great to see it. I mean, if you could,
Okay.
there's a chance.
Cost
that-
estimate's probably wrong by now, but
Yeah, well, yeah, as everything is.
Crazy.
That's just, yeah, you can't keep up.
but
So,
that would go as part of what we're doing with this grant, right?
Fit right in, you would.
Yeah, that's,
yep.
Okay.
And I think that with having this committee be reviewing the grants at Cheetah Lake, I think that's covers the next item that Build Up and Trails would like to be involved with that. And if this is going to be the forum, then we'll just ask the people that want to be involved to attend the meetings.
absolutely.
Gill's Landing Trail improvements, thanks for moving that conversation forward. We still are offering to help fund that project. Connecting trails, of course, we're anxious about the Albany-owned properties, 3 acres north of River Park. We understand that there should be some news coming on that before too long. And at that point, I think it sounds like the city's probably going to be working, whenever those right-of-ways do come available, is to work on a cost estimate and plans for that. So that's great. We'd like to be involved with that process.
One were
and
you
have
talking
some-
about there, Ron?
Pardon?
Which one I'm sorry,
It's Albany-owned properties.
Oh,
Just
gotcha.
whenever we're able to secure those right-of-ways, we just want to be involved with that process and have some comment on the design.
Sure.
So we're in conversations with the Albany City Manager. Just wanted to make sure that we're upfront with that, and that we haven't heard back from the city manager, Mr. I can't say his last name. Tresden. Yeah. And I think they're re-reviewing the piece of property there, the trail proposal to go from Mark Slough to Hattervine Park across Mark Slough to the Olive Street right away. Don't know what to expect with that, other than just let you know we're in communications with them. Okay, and we talked about the ODOT grant that Albany is currently using to put in to widen their trail there off of Periwinkle Creek at Queen and Gary. It's a great looking project. I think they've made great strides of accomplishing what they wanted to, which was to make a safer route for pedestrians, but also a safe route to the elementary schools that are there on a heavily used trail.
Which I think that project really leads to the necessity or the viability of some of the funding coming for the project that we were talking about today, because it's a very similar project in some ways.
Yep, it's got a lot of common points. So, that's about it. I think what I failed to bring up with the Albany acquisitions, or the properties we were talking to Albany about, was their abandoned canal property, which goes from the property that's north of River Park and goes on the abandoned canal, goes all the way to Bromille Street. I don't know if those pieces are the ones that are being looked at, but that's the direct connection from River Park to the whole neighborhood, the Bromille Street, Dodge Street neighborhood. And without that, it's going to be difficult to find an alignment to get through there. So I don't know if that's been part of the conversations at all.
No, they don't own it.
Oh, they don't own it.
No, they don't. There's only one piece in there that the city of Albany owns, and that's that piece right north of River Park, and it's a 6.27 acre parcel.
Yeah.
A portion of it. The other, I believe, shows as
The company, right? It's like an old
yeah,
lumber
it's,
company or
yeah,
something.
drawing a blank, but yes, that's
Yeah, I recall that now.
it's not Ferris. It's oh my gosh.
Is it somebody local?
No, it's the ones that used to have all the property up there where Rick Franklin's property is, that mill.
Oh, the old Crown Ziller back?
Yeah, but there's another name for it too.
Right.
It's on our tax rolls. So,
So that'll be a project
yeah,
to try to just even get some communications with that group, because that's a little tiny piece of property that they
right.
probably don't really even know too much about. All right, other than that, that's really all I have for the update.
Okay, Jan, your name was on that too. You have anything to add to that?
No, other than, is there any more progress on the Cheetah Lake funding, the 2-point-something million grant?
In terms
Any
of.
progress of
No,
design or
we
anything?
no, we just was just approved at city council last week.
Okay,
So the next step is to start the design process, and we've got a preliminary, which we showed the city council of what that's going to look like, and then we'll bring that back to this group.
yeah, we'd kind of like to be involved somehow with that.
Well, we can bring the preliminary back to you, what we have. Right now, this phase is really going to be consistent of, I believe, 3 baseball diamonds and the stage and amphitheater portion and the inner workings of the trail in there. And my guess is that's going to eat most of that up.
I was at Milwaukee, and they, last weekend, to a grandkids game, and if you want to see 3 nice ballparks.
Yeah.
They were phenomenal.
These will be nice. I mean,
Had cover over the bleachers, and
Yeah.
that was.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, we'll
I've
see.
never seen anything
Yeah.
like this. I don't know how they funded it, but
And then, of course, the trail piece would go through that and restroom and stuff. So by the time I don't know that I don't know that there's a lot for the committee to look at this point. I think one of the things we could do is maybe schedule a meeting.
Jason?
We probably should schedule a meeting in August to bring a design consultant in. And I believe we're going to try and use Udell Engineering since they did all the preliminary work already and have all the information as a way to try and cut some costs. And then one of the other things, Jason's got this all in his head, but was to use somebody that's actually done stages and bring them on underneath Brian's contract so that we'd have somebody that actually knew what they were doing on that piece of it. So once we get to that point, but maybe it makes sense to have a meeting in August so that we can kick that off.
I think Sierra has it on the calendar here.
Okay. That's, oh, yeah, you do. Look at that, down below. Well, you did good.
That sounds good. That is the day that I'm eligible for PERS retirement. So if I
Oh,
get mad
yeah.
enough, I can just say,
Oh,
here
my
you go,
goodness.
guys.
That's a
I'm not
special day.
retiring, but I'm eligible. Okay. Did that answer your question? Okay. Public comments, unless they're really good at hiding, there's no public.
Couple of questions. Well, I agree with Ron. I haven't seen anything on that indicates anything to do with the trails, but probably should be in terms of when that's done, what the trails would look like as they come into the baseball area. One of the conversations that we wanted to confirm is that usage of the baseball diamond would probably be off limits, but using the outfield for parking if we need it. So the way it's built, that could be used without damaging the field. And the other conversation is bringing on folks from Strawberry Festival and others that have experience with stages. We want to make I'm calling it an amphitheater because that's what it looks like in my mind, right? Making it available to high-level entertainers so that facility can be used for that, especially in the future. We'd like to see that used during the summer as much as possible on a weekly basis, monthly basis, just like Albany does at their park, their summer band series or summer rhythm series, right? And so I think that's if there's a conversation for us to have, I would like that as well, and maybe even with just bring that up to Jason.
Yeah, he's gonna be your guy. He's
Yeah,
got it
absolutely.
in his head for what, I mean, he's the one that's done the master plan out there. And so it would be beneficial if we brought, and maybe our consultant doesn't come to the next one. Maybe we bring back what is kind of laid out on paper, but it's not really, this was from years ago, what was done. And that's kind of what, I mean, you're going, okay, so we got $2.6 million.
It's going to go fast.
What are we going to do?
Right.
So that's the details of it. I'm not sure we're ready to get into details yet, but
Yeah.
I think we could bring that piece back to the committee next
Yeah.
time, and we could at least start going, okay, here's what we've got. He's also got some more in mind in terms of additional funding that could go towards it. So we'll just let us see what we can come up
So
with.
is the South Shore Trail, is that totally scrapped or?
Oh, no, we're still going to build it within the confines of what we have currently. So unless something changes,
Within the currently city-owned property.
yes.
So it won't go over to the soccer fields?
No, not at this time. Not unless something changes. So,
I think it makes a lot of sense to bring whatever they've got to the next meeting and talk about it. I don't think you want to go any farther on it. $2.6 million, a few ball fields lighted, and a restroom, and you're most of the way there. And particularly if you try to do an amphitheater.
yeah, and it's possible we could do some paved parking. I think we want to try to get some
So that's
paved
part of it, yes.
ADA parking in.
It's all
you know.
ADA monies, so yeah, accessibility monies.
So that's the grant itself is accessibility.
mhm,
So we're really going to shoot for those things.
The money isn't enough to do everything that's planned, that I understand.
Yeah.
The other question I have is the ALEC program, Armenian students. Is that something that happens every year? Was that something that, how did that come about?
Somebody, Rod, somebody you knew was hosting the Armenian students, right?
Oh, I'm sorry.
He asked how,
Yeah, so Friendship Force International, which was created, Jimmy Carter created it
Mhm.
for people to get to know people in other countries and just be friends, just non-political and non-religious. Anyway, through that program, the Corvallis chapter of the Friendship Force International offered to host the students through the ALEX program. And I don't know what that acronym stands for. They were slated to be as high school students to come over and spend a year here, but because of COVID, they aged out. So through the international organizations that got together, ALEX and then the Friendship Force International, they were able to bring all the students that were in the program, and I don't remember how many, there's several hundred, I think, throughout the United States, to be able to bring them here for a month.
So how many were here?
We had nine students in our area, and young people. I guess they're not in high school anymore because they timed out
Right.
of high school. But
I-
yeah, it was really interesting to get to know them a little bit, and they live in a different world, and they were really happy to be here, and they worked really hard.
I hate to see something like that happen in our community and the community doesn't know about it, because I think it's just amazing.
Yeah.
And from the families that host them to the programs that bring them here to the achievements of the volunteers, when they leave. And I really believe that, the council should recognize them and give them letters of thank you and stuff like that. So if you can mention that, I personally, I think it's a huge achievement for our little Lebanon town to host students from other countries and volunteers from other countries and.
Come work on
and,
the trails.
Pardon?
Just come work on our trails.
Exactly, right?
Would've thought it. Well, not a current city councilor, but Rebecca
Mhm.
actually came down. We took the group down to James Gang for pizza,
Mm-hmm.
and she came and she talked to all the
That's
students, and did
fantastic.
a little presentation, and represented the city of Lebanon very well with that group,
Good,
and
good.
thanked them.
Was there press there? I mean, and that would have been a great press coverage item.
It would
I
have
don't
been,
know.
it would have been.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it still can be after the fact or something, or like you said, I don't know. They're gone now, right? They're no longer here.
They're gone. Yep.
Yeah. So
Separate,
Left the next day,
Yeah.
got on a plane, and took them 40 hours to get home for all the delays and layovers they had. But
yeah.
here's another question that I have for you. I keep hearing about the success of Lebanon in our trails and how great they are. How would you rate our trails in all of Oregon for a little town? How would you rate them on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being the best.
Let me take a shot at that.
Okay.
I manage a trail system in an adjoining town that's much bigger,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't do nearly as well as Lebanon does. Lebanon has something special for the size of the town. There's been a lot of thought gone into it. There's been a lot of pre-planning, because you have to think about down 5 years ago or 5 years from now, could we get this right away to do what's here? And that's a really hard thing on connectors. And so I know that the city that I work for is very envious of what Lebanon has done. And I think it's a great model. And what you need is a group like Build Lebanon Trails that keeps it in the forefront of people's mind, the city's mind. And I think that Lebanon, one of the things that Lebanon has going for it too as a city is you're not so big that you can put, this is my thing, this is my thing, this is my thing. They kind of have to work together, groups and individuals, and have to find things that are really important to the community. So that's just, I live here, but I work 20 minutes away, so.
thank you, Rick. And I think we can credit with the fellow that started Build Lebanon Trails in 2005. I think he doesn't sleep at night. He's always thinking about the trails.
But I would challenge to find, there's resort areas that probably have a fancier trail system, but for for the funding that Lebanon has. I'd be really surprised to find someplace that had as thorough a trail network as they do here.
So the reason I bring this up is because, oh, go ahead, Jen.
No, I was gonna say, the Oregon Community Foundation, which granted, trees and, Build Lebanon Trails a partial, grant to fund the recent signs. They're really excited to learn about the organization. And I know personally, when I was working with them in writing the grant, that there's a lot of keen organization. People have their areas of expertise and very active and diligent. And so that really spoke loads, I believe, to the grant committee too, that funded that grant. So, or approved the grant. So anyway, that's my 2 cents there.
I bring it up because I agree with you, but I wanted to hear it from you, in that we are not, I feel, not really taking advantage of the fact that we have these wonderful trails here from a tourism point of view. You have this huge event in Eugene, and they've provided a map of all the places to go in Oregon, and we're not on that map, right? And I'd like to see us on that map for multiple of reasons. And this is definitely one of the reasons that if you're a hiker, you want to see some nature and it's put together for you, this is a great place to visit. Yes, it's a few minutes off I-5, but here's Lebanon.
Right.
And I think that this, what you have built, what everybody's built with you, is a backbone of the tourism that we can bring into our community. And I just want to say that because I'm headed in that direction. We don't have staff. One day we will. But when that's, I don't know what comes first, the reason to come or the person to help you get here, I don't know.
I know the chamber really is good to support us and give out our flyers and so forth.
But you got to get here.
Right. you
So,
gotta get here.
so when I look at all the things to do brochures and things to do magazines and catalogs, I collect them all. I wind up throwing them away, but I collect them all just to see where Lebanon is, and I hardly ever see Lebanon on that map. So it's one of the things that I think that what you have built here is a backbone of that vision to say we have some great bike trails, we have some great walking trails, we have some Asian gardens, we have some other things going on in some nearby towns, but you got to get to Lebanon first. So thank you for all the work that you've done. Congratulations, and I look forward to helping everybody continue that and see folks come from all over the place to walk our trails and ride our trails and run our trails.
Well, and I would add to that, the decisions, I like the idea of expanding the committee into what they're doing, because the decisions, one of the things that I think about is the decisions I make today or we make today may not benefit us. It's like planting a tree. It doesn't benefit us, but it benefits down the road. I think that's a really valuable thing. And the decisions that the city makes regarding what you do with the money, that's going to make money, both economic and livability issues down the line, doing it right. And I think that's one of the things that's happened with trails, but it's not going to be us or even our children that get some of the benefit. It's going to be our grandchildren. So anyway, enough of my soapbox.
And I just need to add that the reason we've been so successful is because of the partnership with the city. And, Build Lebanon Trails wouldn't even exist without the city. And the city's helped us every time for all the years. We've worked together to build trails, to design trails. And that's what it is. It takes that partnership to work through. We have a great set of volunteers. We got, Build Lebanon Trails got a great board. And with the city's staff helping us with design and often in-kind work, then we're going to continue to be successful and to reach our goal someday of the 50 miles worth of public trail within the urban growth boundary.
Any other comments? We had no public comments. Any other comments from the?
I just have one comment, and it's because I was tardy, and you've already gone over the municipal code revision, the draft of that. There was language that talked about that people in the committee should just be from the city of Lebanon. And I don't know if that was discussed at all, because, 2 of us are not. I was
defended you.
formerly.
We did discuss that a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a council sort of decision.
Mhm.
There are advantages to having people just from the city, but there are also advantages of people that have expertise, like you. And,
Right.
and I think one of the questions was, even if the person moves out, can they serve the rest of their term? And those aren't questions that we can answer. Those are council questions, and those aren't just for this committee. They're kind of a bigger picture. I
When will
don't
that
think,
question be addressed? Will that be addressed like next Wednesday or more
I
of a
can't imagine that.
council?
I
'Cause
can't
that's just an
imagine next
update.
Wednesday. I would say that's a
Okay.
council along the way somewhere. What do you think?
It's important to me, and knowing, I mean, I brought it up, even though you live in Sweet Home, I defended you. It's a joke. That folks that have the love and the heart and the care, as well as the expertise, obviously, but
Mhm.
the heart, the love, and the care for what we do here, and especially if you're already on, that I think that we should do what we can to keep you on as long as you want to stay on.
Yeah. Well, I was
And
thinking
that
of
maybe
adding
that-
some language of the surrounding, area within Lynn County, but if that's a suggestion, can we make that as a suggestion? It said draft, so when I hear draft, that doesn't
Right,
mean final.
right. So we did discuss it, and I do know that I believe that if we feel that we want to make a change, if not in the draft, but for an individual, we can certainly suggest that, and I would support
Okay.
it.
All right.
Because I don't want to lose, you brought me on this, so certainly wouldn't want to lose you off this committee. So I don't know what the overall answer is. It's,
Okay.
again, it's a draft. And if I feel that if it's something that we would lose valuable members, then we certainly need to address that to not make that change. I don't know. I do see the value of having a resident, but I've also thought about the fact that if I own property, then in Lebanon, if I don't live in Lebanon, I still have, I'd like to still have a say in the future of the community. So I don't know what the parameters are in changing that or not changing that, but we certainly should look into it and find out what we can do
Right.
to keep you
And
on.
some pros too about branching out to, trails in itself to neighboring cities, that would be beneficial to have people from within Lynn County, of course.
The
sure.
conversation was tax paying. Those who pay money
Mhm.
into this should be the ones that make that decision. And I
Oh,
get that.
yes.
I get that.
Yeah.
It's
No,
a council decision in the end.
It becomes a policy.
That's fine. I
decision.
just wanted to address it. Yeah, I moved to Sweet Home, so.
Yeah,
it wasn't Lebanon.
we did talk about it for 5 or 10 minutes at the first of the meeting.
Okay.
I was your fiercest supporter, by the way.
I shop in Lebanon all the time.
Any other discussion?
All right.
Next scheduled meeting is August 17th. We are going to appear before City Council in a work session next Wednesday. And I'm going to adjourn. I love that thing.
Thank you, everybody, for everything that you do, keeping Lebanon, keeping Lebanon beautiful.